All right, so many headlines, obviously, from the Trump White House, and yet Russian President Vladimir Putin is still actively engaged in undermining the U.S. and pursuing his personal agenda around the world. Putting it into perspective, CNN national security analyst Sam Vinograd with us now. So talk to us, first of all, about these new Russian cyber attacks this week.
Thanks, Christy. Well, we learned this week that everyone is fair game in Putin's cyber attacks, even children. We know that in the past, his digital warriors have stoked online debate around issues that affect kids, like school shootings. And now researchers found more than 200,000 Russian accounts engaged in an online debate on vaccination. Like on other inflammatory issues, the Russians this time around were playing for both teams, both pro and anti-vaccination, because all they care about is stoking divisions. Microsoft also revealed that the Russian government is trying to tank some think tanks. They thwarted spear phishing attacks by the same group that hacked the DNC. It's called Fancy Bear and controlled by the Russian government. And these attacks were aimed at trying to interfere with conservative think tanks that have criticized Russia. And it's interesting because this intel on Russian interference came from digital footprints. It came from cyberspace. But the New York Times is reporting that the U.S. intel community is having a tougher time getting actual human sources to share information and shed light on election interference plans. This may be because Putin is trying to go to extra lengths to warn his team that they will face severe repercussions if they work with us. Or sources may have seen Congressman Devin Nunes out a source in his memo a few months ago. So I think both of these factors may be making human sources in Russia think twice about working with the U.S.
But is President Putin using social media to talk about what kind of what we've seen this week, the legal issues President Trump might be facing?
Well, Trump's diatribes against the Justice Department, including, by the way, his this morning, are gold mines for President Putin, because it looks like the president is trying to interfere with the bedrock of U.S. democracy, which is the independence of the legal system. I mean, Putin is getting inside help on his mission to highlight shortcomings in U.S. democracy every time the president issues a tweet like he did this morning. And I think Putin is also going to try to use this to degrade U.S. influence abroad. Putin's probably playing up the glaring double standard at play here. We condemn, we even sanction other countries when officials try to degrade the independence of their legal system. Now we have tweets that document our president's ongoing direction to the Department of Justice on what to investigate and what not to investigate. At the same time, Putin's probably playing up the fact that he has one standard for himself and what the Department of Justice should look at, and another one for everyone else and the rest of the world. And Putin's also very aware of the fact that he has staying power. Putin's around until 2024, when we look at the president and President Trump and this legal cloud hanging over him. Midterms are 70-plus days away. And there's a compelling narrative that the president or President Trump may be here today and gone tomorrow. So if you're Putin, you're probably encouraging counterparts to wait and see what happens with President Trump before you engage substantively, to take a wait-and-see approach, and Putin will surely be there to fill any empty time in their schedules when they do.
So how is he, meaning President Putin, trying to, manage these appearances, not just at home, but abroad?
Well, Putin likes to show off his shiny objects. Right before the election, he had that crazy press conference where he broadcast his invincible missile. He puts on a massive military parade every year in Moscow. I've actually been to one. And last week, Russia kicked off its Army Expo and is about to launch massive military exercises with China and Mongolia. They like to show off their military hardware and their military toys. But underneath these grandiose shows of force, the Russian economy is actually under pressure. Modest growth is expected this year, about 1.8%. The ruble hit a two-year low last week when U.S. sanctions went into effect. And investors are not chomping at the bit to invest in Russia for many reasons, including uncertainty over potentially more U.S. sanctions. And that may be one reason that Putin may be taking his show on the road. There were reports in Russian media late last week that Putin is considering a visit to Saudi Arabia. In the past, Saudi Arabia committed $10 billion in investment to Russia. That was back in 2015. So it's highly likely that Putin is considering a trip to visit the king and to potentially ask for more investment in his economy.
All righty. Hey, Samantha Vinograd, thank you so much for breaking it down
Thanks.
for us. Appreciate it.